Okay, for this last assignment on timers, we're going to create a cookie clicker, which is pretty exciting. Maybe. Depends if you like that or not. And it might seem a little overwhelming, but it's again a one step at a time, one function at a time thing that then builds on itself pretty nicely to not be so bad. So let me give you some basic setup. We've got our game set up here so that we have our width and our number of cookies. We're going to have a mouse click. I'm going to give you that in a minute. Our draw statement is nice and easy. We're just drawing a basic cookie. Now you could make that better than I did. You could add details to it. Or you could even get an image off the internet. And that doesn't have to be a cookie clicker either. Of course, you can make it anything you want. So go for a pickle clicker or whatever you want it to do. Here I just create my cookie label that says I have 0 cookies. And I set my handlers up, right? So no timer yet. And here's my mouse clicker. I have cookies. If I click, my cookies go up by 1. And this changes the label, so no longer is it cookies 0, but it's cookies with the string of cookies added onto it. So when I play this, I get this nice cookies 0 over here. And once I click, then my string goes up by 1. Now, again, I set it up so I could click anywhere. I didn't say click only if I'm in the cookie area. So I could change this to kind of detect if you've gone through collision detection. You could say, okay, I only want to click on this one area. But for this purpose, I thought this was good enough. So now what we want to do, the timer that we get in this is if we have cookies per second. So in a cookie clicker, they'll have like objects you can buy, and those objects can crank out the cookies faster than usual. So let's just take a look down here at our things that we could put into our side, some labels and buttons that we could make. So perhaps I'm going to call it cookies per second. I'm going to have a cookies per second label. And it's just going to be CPS 0. You could write it out if you want, cookies per second, if the person's not used to, what CPS might mean. And then you want an item to buy that can increase your cookies per second. So you have to spend cookies to buy an item. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to just create real quick a blank label. Frame add label nothing, so that I have a little bit of blank space there. I'm just going to not do anything with that. And then I'm going to create, so for the lack of something better to call it, I'll call it an auto clicker. What if it wasn't me clicking the cookie, but some automatic thing is clicking the cookie? And so here I want to tell it how many auto clickers I own, which is 0. And then its auto clickers have to cost some amount. So we have to add another frame or another label, blah, to be the cost of the auto clicker. And then we finally, this is the one that actually might do something, is we want to add a button. That button might say the word buy or buy auto clicker. And when we click that button, we have to do something. So then we would buy something. So let's see, this is going to give me an error because I don't have a function called buy. So we'll create some function called buy that will do nothing right now. Okay, so now I have all these things up here, and yay, I'm buying cookies, but they don't do anything. And then finally, if we're going to have a cookies per second, this is the whole point of this thing, is that we now have actually a timer that can go, right? So So now we have to add a timer. So maybe we call it the CPS timer. We're not adding it to the frame, we're adding it to the program itself, so it's simple GUI, create timer, and every second this is going to run. And what is it going to do? It's going to calculate the CPS, so maybe we'll call it the CPS. Or, no, because we already have CPS defined. No, we don't have it yet, but we should probably define the actual cookies per second as a variable called CPS. So we'll just call this tick again. Why not? Down here, we want to actually start the timer running. And then up here, what happens when we click, and we'll say pass. So we've got a timer running. Oh, well, might help if I caught the right thing. I'm not paying any attention to what I'm doing here, am I? Hopefully you caught those errors before I did. All right. So there's a timer running. We didn't do anything with the timer, but it's running. And the reason it's not doing anything is because our cookies per second is at 0, right? So this is everything that we need to get going. Most of our work was just creating labels. And then we have some functions that will do stuff. And once we create what those functions do, we will have a program.